So it was just really exciting when we were able to, when we looked up at the board and got that record.
Did you know what the record was originally? Like when you broke it, did you guys realize it at first or?
Um, maybe some of them did, but I did not. Like I have no,
Mm,
when I swim, I have no idea about times. Like I just
mm.
kind of go. So I think we
Yeah,
were all pretty shocked.
that's so cool. Man,
Yeah.
that sounds like it'd feel amazing. Especially, I feel like it's almost better sometimes when you don't realize it because it's just like a huge shock. Like, wait, what? I just did that? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. And even like off of that, like off of my leadoff leg, like I broke the American record in
Yeah.
the 50 back, like
Oh,
even
dang.
which it was just wild. I was like, what the heck? That's so cool that I just
Mm,
did that. And then my team broke the world record, you know?
that
So
is so awesome.
My name is Andrew Smitte.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Successful Smitty podcast. I have a super awesome guest here today. Her name is Deloof. Allie is a professional swimmer who previously swam for the University of Michigan and also for the ISL team DC Trident. She is the older sister of Gabby Deloof, who I interviewed 2 episodes ago. So if you guys haven't seen that, make sure you check it out after this episode. And she's the previous world record holder in the 4x50 short course meter medley relay, where she led off backstroke. And she's won 3 golds and 1 bronze at the FINA World Championships, 1 gold at the Pan American Games, and 1 gold and 1 silver at the World University Games. And she's also a social media creator for Biny Wellness Building. So, Allie, welcome to the podcast.
thanks for having me.
Yes. So, tell us a little bit more about yourself or anything that I might have missed.
You nailed it. You got all the information, so you did your homework.
Awesome. Okay, good. Good. I'm glad I got it all. So, I guess I'll start off talking about like so do you prefer swimming like with a team or individually, would you say?
I prefer it with a team. I think it's a lot more fun that way. There's pros
Mhm.
and cons of both. But I just like being in that team environment because I feel like I can be
Mhm.
pushed even more than by
Mhm.
myself.
Yeah, I was curious because I know obviously like in college when you have like a team and stuff and then transitioning to pro, a lot of times it can be more individualized and you don't have like that team atmosphere as much anymore. Obviously, except for like ISL. So I wasn't sure what that looked like as far as like transitioning to not having like a actual like team that you're competing with like in relays and things like that all the time.
Yeah, I think, yeah. So I guess it just depends on like where you're training as a pro. Like you could still be training with like a college team if you were swimming at, like
Hmm.
say, like, I went to Michigan, right? And then I
Hmm.
graduated and stayed there to train for a year and a half, 2 years after I graduated. So I still was training with the team, but
Oh, okay.
it was like I was doing it, I was swimming for myself, like I had
Hmm.
different goals outside of the pool. So like you still train with the team, but it's not the same. Like you don't do everything
Yeah.
that the team does. So and then even like going from Michigan to San Diego for Team Elite with David Marsh, we were more of a professional team, right?
Hmm.
They were all pros there, and some college kids would come and go. And then at the last team that I was swimming with, and with Matt Kretich at the University of Tennessee, like we swam with the college team, but then also swam as a post grad team. So
Hmm.
there's like a mix of both, and there's some pros that swim at home by themselves, like
Yeah.
it's different. I prefer a team because I feel like I can
Hmm.
push myself better, like I said. Yeah. So
Hmm.
I guess there's pros and cons of everything, a
Yeah.
long-winded answer.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm the same way. I think I prefer swimming with a team as well because it's definitely a lot easier to push yourself when you have people that are kind of going through the same grind with you and kind of hold you accountable indirectly. Just because if you see someone else working hard, it's like I don't want to be the one person who's slacking.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess the only con about it is like, oh, you're not reaching the same goals, or you're not on the same page as the college team, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not trying to win a championship or things
Hmm.
like that, but you're still trying to do more specific things to you as an athlete. So,
Right. What was your experience at ISL like?
oh my gosh, it was so fun. I was able to be a part of like 3 different teams. So my first team
Mm,
was the New York Breakers
mm,
the first year, and then the second year was with LA Current. And the last season, I had probably the most fun with the DC Trident,
mm,
with Caitlin Sandino's team. And it's just like a pro league for swimmers, like you still get to
mhm.
be a part of a team. You get to race for one another. And there's prize money involved,
Yeah.
that's like a big thing too.
Mhm,
Um, the last season my team spent 6 weeks in Naples, Italy,
mm,
uh, which is a very long time to be gone. That was the longest trip I've ever been on. But I made so many fun memories, like met
mm.
so many new people. I would say, you meet a lot of international swimmers at all of the teams. But I feel like ours, we had the most international swimmers. So you got to meet
Mm,
people from everywhere, like Russia, Australia.
mm.
Um, I'm blanking on everything else now, which is crazy that it's been over a year since we've competed for that. But
Mhm.
it's really fun to be a part of and like be on TV, kind of on TV, I guess. It doesn't
Yeah.
shown in the States that well, but just
Mhm.
really fun to be part of that team atmosphere, be able to race and things like that. So it was really fun, really exciting.
Yeah, it looked like a blast. I watched so much of the ISL whenever whenever it was going on, and man, it was fun to watch, especially seeing so many records getting broken as well, and then
Yeah,
just the
that
energy,
too.
the lights, everything.
Yeah,
It's almost like a basketball game in the swimming pool. It felt like.
exactly. Like they want to put on a show, they want to get people to watch it. So they're trying to make it the most entertaining thing. So
Hmm.
it was really, really fun.
Hmm. That's
I mean, like
awesome.
we ate so much good food, so much pasta, pizza, spent a
Yum.
lot of money, but yeah, it was a
That
blast.
sounds awesome. So, when you really broke the world record at the FINA Championships, was that something that you guys had expected, or did it kind of just happen out of the blue?
Oh my gosh, it feels like forever ago. That was my first international competition.
Oh, wow.
Which international, like Windsor is right across the water, the river
Hmm.
from Grosse Pointe, Michigan. But so I wouldn't say it's very international. Um, I I'm trying to remember. I feel like maybe we had thought about it or maybe we had talked about it, but I don't think we didn't like I don't think we really said it much about it.
Hmm.
So it was just really exciting when we were able to when we looked up at the board and got that record.
Did you know what the record was originally? Like when you broke it, did you guys realize it at first, or?
Um, maybe some of them did, but I did not. Like I have no
Mm,
when I swim, I have no idea about times. Like I just
mm.
kind of go. So I think
Yeah,
we were all pretty shocked.
that's so cool. Man,
Yeah.
that sounds like it'd feel amazing. Especially, I feel like it's almost better sometimes when you don't realize it because it's just like a huge shock. Like, wait, what? I just did that? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. And even like off of that, like off of my lead off like I broke the American record in the
Yeah.
50 back, like
Oh,
even
dang.
which it was just wild. I was like, what the heck? That's so cool that I just
Mm,
did that. And then my team broke the world record.
that
So
is so awesome.
um yeah, I feel like I do my best swimming when I just don't focus in on times and just kind of like enjoy the moment. But
Mm,
I would like just sitting here, I was like, oh my gosh, that was now 7 years ago.
man, it is crazy how sometimes just thinking back to some of these memories, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but then you think back like, wow, it literally seems like it was so like forever ago. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when you're in it, you're like, oh, that's really cool. And now that it's been a while, I can still say that I broke a world record,
Yeah.
even though it's former, like that's with me forever.
Hmm. I feel like
So
that
I,
reminds me a lot of whenever I go on like a vacation somewhere and I see like let's say for example like I go to Yellowstone once a year roughly with my family and we there's this one spot in the Grand Teton Mountains right by Yellowstone and it has like the most beautiful view in the world. And when you're there, like you take it in, you're like, wow, this is really pretty. And then like, you take pictures of it. But then when you look back in your photos, it's almost like, wow, that is, you almost appreciate it more once you're not
Yeah.
there. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's definitely a lot of things, even with like being on a break, you when you're really in it, you probably take it for granted, and then you realize, like you
Hmm.
said, we've done some amazing things.
Yeah,
And we need to
definitely.
take the opportunity to like let it sit and marinate, and
Hmm.
it's okay if that happens after.
Yeah. Is that the achievement swimming that you're most proud of, would you say, or is there something else?
Um, yeah, that and like going to trials in 2016 and
Hmm.
not having gone in 2012 and watching my two younger
Oh
sisters,
yeah,
Katie and Jackie go, or Katie and Gabby go.
Gabby.
Um, and you know, going in 2016 and getting fourth and getting on the national
Hmm.
team at 21 years old. I think a lot of people, like more later on in my career, a lot of people get on the national team earlier. They're on the junior national team and they kind of stay consistent and make it every year.
Hmm.
So that's like one of the biggest accomplishments. And then even at Michigan, winning Big Tens
Oh yeah.
in 2016 for the first time in 12 years
Jeez.
at home. Like there's so many things, not even like USA swimming related, that I think are pretty big accomplishments.
That's super awesome. Yeah, I can imagine that'd be such an incredible feeling. I know how it felt for myself when my team won conference, and we hadn't won in over like roughly like 14 years or something like that. Our conference meet, and when we finally won, it just felt amazing. Especially being back, like when we won back to back, it was just such an incredible feeling. So I couldn't even imagine how awesome it felt winning Big Tens also.
Yeah. Very, very similar, like you do it
Hmm.
for the people who have come before you, who are there with
Hmm.
you, and then after you, So
Yeah,
it's very rewarding. It's very exciting.
that's cool. What are some things that you felt like in swimming helped to bring the best out of you? Like whether versus, I guess, like in training and also in races.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think in training, picking one thing each day to work on, and I feel like I learned this even later on, like as I went through college and post grad, and sometimes you lose sight of things. You don't swim well at every practice, but you can decide what you do really well to make you better. Like, for example, if you're not swimming very well in a workout, you could work on, or I could work on doing 4 to 6 dolphin kicks off every wall, or I'm going to hit really good turns in and out the wall,
Hmm.
or I'm going to focus in on my breathing, or my technique, things like that. So there's always something that you can be working on to get better,
Hmm.
even in the toughest of moments. In regards to racing, and even every day, I started working with a confidence coach, and she told me, I wrote down all of my truths about the things that I believed about myself. And I had to change my mindset about a lot of those things as well, because I had a lot of negative self-talk going on. But even sometimes when I left practice, I wouldn't feel my best. And I'd be like, I worked really hard, but that wasn't good enough, you know,
Hmm.
like I should have done more. And always leaving practice kind of upset that I didn't do enough.
Hmm.
Um, from that, she was like, get a journal, write down one thing you did well every single day in a workout, no matter what it was. I don't care what happened, but write down one thing you did well. And then I had this notebook for the whole year and I brought it to meets, and I read it before I raced,
Hmm.
or read it like the night before I raced. And I had a whole collection of things that I did well,
Hmm.
that made me feel extremely prepared to race, because sometimes I wouldn't feel super confident in myself and the ability of my ability. So that really helped. And then
Hmm.
later on, like during ISL, I just wrote down all of my beliefs, like all the things that made me feel strong and confident, and would repeat them in my head before I raced. Or chose a couple, like 3 things that were really resonating with me that day. And that really helped. So that's just like a few of the things that have kind of helped me in my training, build my confidence, and help like the mental aspect of my swimming. And everybody's different. Like that might not work for some people, but I've experienced, like I've got a lot of good things in my toolbox that I've kind of learned how to use a little bit better.
That's cool. I like that exercise. It reminds me a lot of kind of like affirmations.
Yeah,
Just
that's really
telling yourself things over and over, and even if sometimes you may not believe it at first, but if you consistently tell yourself like I'm confident, I'm confident, I'm confident, eventually, like one of these days, you're going to start believing it just because you keep telling yourself that. You almost trick your brain into believing it, and then it becomes your new identity / reality.
Yeah, like there were a lot of things like we figured out that my big thing was, as a sprinter, you have a hard time finishing your 100 right sometimes, as we talked about earlier.
Right.
And one thing that I was telling myself was like, I can't finish this race. Like I can't do it. And so just having a mindset switch in practice to being like, when the workout gets really hard at the end, when you're really tired, when you're really fatigued, just switching your thoughts and being like, I can do this. Like I am strong enough. I can finish. Your mind is amazing. And it can be your most, like, how do I say this? It can kind of make or break you, like if you're truly believing all those intrusive thoughts in your head, then you won't be successful. And I feel like I wasn't, and I didn't even realize kind of the things that I was saying to myself. And I mean, you'd be surprised how many like bad things I was saying, but those things have really, really helped, honestly, just like you said, just like their affirmations. So, but you have to really I had to put in the work to kind of figure out what were my triggers and how to like rewire my brain.
That's really neat. I like that. That's really awesome that you're able to do that and to work through those things, because it can be hard and it can be kind of scary sometimes too to actually fully commit and go all in on something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the hardest thing. Like it takes a while. It doesn't work right away, right? And I think a lot of us want quick answers or quick fixes, but it's over time. Taking the time to actually do the hard work, and in the pool, in the gym, and outside,
Right. That reminds me a lot of when you like swim a race, for example, and let's say you go let's say you swim the race so bad and you finish, most likely you're going to feel so exhausted, like you're just going to feel like crap after. But if you swim a race and you get like a PR, you swim the exact same event in like the same distance, same effort, but just because you did well, it's all in your head. Like you feel so energized. You're like, man, I could swim that race again probably, and go the same time or faster in 2 minutes or something. Like it's all just about your perception and how you approach it mentally. And I guess, yeah, the mental state you're in, I feel like helps with the energy that you bring to the race, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the biggest thing too is like, just because you have a bad race, and I'm not saying that I was really great at this. There were some times that I was not. If you have a bad race, it's just feedback on things that you need to work on or get better at,
Right.
or just a readjustment in your training. And now that I've been out of it for a little bit, I kind of understand that a little bit more. But again, there's ups and downs with all of that too. But it's just a feedback.
Exactly. Actually, I saw this thing with Michael Jordan and Stephen Curry the other day on Instagram, and I guess so. Stephen Curry asked Michael, he's like, "Hey, like, do you hate winning or no? Sorry, do you hate losing more than you love winning?" And Michael's answer was, he's like, "I hate losing, but I respect losing, because you have to lose to win, pretty much. You have to go through the losses, and learn from those things to be able to win.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, I love that.
Yeah, it was a pretty big, I guess, mindset shift for me about like respecting winning and or losing and actually like appreciating it, even though it sucks in the moment. But that's where you're going to learn the most, obviously.
Yeah, like it's a really hard pill to swallow sometimes,
Yeah.
but and also just like learning to sit in your emotions too.
Mm.
Like it's okay to be upset about it. You can be upset, but don't like dwell on it.
Right.
But again, easier said than done. Like there's a lot of times where I wasn't good at that. So
hmm
you could just learn a lot, like playing a sport,
Right.
especially swimming. Like the clock doesn't lie, right?
hmm
The things that you do, like you want to make sure that you're putting 100% of your effort in, like how can you
hmm
get 1% better each day?
Right.
Um, so
What, what were some things that you did in practice that helped make it more fun? Because that's something I feel like I'm still trying to learn how to do is, I guess, have more fun in practice. Because for me, I'm pretty like head down, like just freaking grind, grind, grind. I'm pretty serious in training. Like I don't really joke. Like I'm just locked in. But I feel like one thing that holds me back is not allowing myself to have fun when I train.
yeah, I think I also, as I got later on in my post grad or professional swimming career, got very serious about things and was like, oh, I have to do this, like I've got to follow this plan.
hmm
And if I don't get there, then I'm not successful, right? Um, and I've kind of tried to change my personality a little bit, and that's not, I do like goals, and there's things that I can do in practice to do well, right? Like I think there should be a whole training plan that you can follow and
hmm
work with your coach and whatnot. But you know, I like to have fun. I like to giggle. Like I love to socialize with people. I love
hmm
being in the water. I love feel for the water, like trying to figure out technique. How can I move more efficiently through the water with less effort, right? Like I don't want to fight the water. Um, but you got to find out what works best for you, Like I just found that kind of trying to push down my personality or who I am as a person was not very helpful for me.
hmm
Um, and just the different training environments that I've been in before, I've definitely had to change who I am and my thoughts and things like that. So I would say I was really happy in the training environment at the University of Tennessee with Matt Kredich and all my post grad friends there. Like, and even towards the end, like with DC Trident at
hmm
ISL, like I did some of my best racing when I was just having fun and enjoying the moment and really like just trusting myself and knowing that I was prepared and just not really caring about time,
hmm
but also taking each day as a new day, right?
hmm
Like no matter what happens the day before, the next one is a new day, a fresh start, like a blank slate. Again, once again, obviously easier said than done, right? Like
hmm
there
Yeah.
might be days where it's hard, but um I don't know, just like don't be afraid to be yourself. I think that would be my biggest thing.
hmm
And don't let like anyone dull your shine, right?
right.
Cliche as that is, but just be yourself. Think about the little kid in you that
hmm
wanted to swim beforehand. I think there was a lot of times where I didn't really remember that, or I heard my coaches say that, and I was like, oh, that's kind of like silly. But it's actually true because there's lots of things like when I first started swimming, did I think this is where I was going to be today? Not at all.
hmm
And I did have a lot of success, but it's just, again, it's hard to see it kind of when you're in it sometimes. But
Right. Yeah. I mean, that is one thing I will say is like I always so outside of the pool I feel like I'm such like a goofy silly like I always tell people I'm such a kid at heart like outside of swimming. Like I'm always gonna have this side to me that's immature and like goofy and fun. But in the pool, I just for whatever reason I just don't bring that inside like my training. And so I feel like I need to somehow just figure how to incorporate that aspect of myself. Because one thing I've learned from one of my mentors, Tim Grover, I don't, you may have heard of him. He was Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant's old like weightlifting coach, but in one of his books, he talks about like winning takes all of you, like every part of you, the good, the bad, like the ugly, the funny, like every part of you, and that's a part of me I feel like I'm not bringing into my training that I probably need to start bringing into it.
Yeah, just find different ways. I mean, whether it's socializing or just like being joking around.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Hmm.
It does take all of you, I will say that.
Yeah.
But you
But
just don't you just want to be yourself and be confident in that. I think that's like the biggest thing, because your mind can tear you apart, and then maybe what you think others think of you can
hmm,
also affect you. But
definitely. How
you'll
did
have to
you?
let me know if you figure it out, because it's hard.
Yeah, it's definitely something I'm gonna be working on in practice every day. Is just trying to incorporate more fun. But like when let's say for your races and stuff, when you're behind the block, did you approach like how did you approach your races? Were you pretty relaxed or were you like goofy as well, like having fun, or were you like really zoned in and like focused and not really talking to people?
You know, probably a combination sometimes. Um, there were times where I was really stressed and I was focused in on times and how I was feeling. And if I wasn't feeling great, I was super worried about it.
Mm,
But my best racing, I found the best racing that I've done is when I'm super carefree, I'm goofy, I'm having fun with my teammates, or trying to talk to people.
mm,
Um, and just like focusing in on that, because
mm.
that's who I am. Like I'm just kind of more
Yeah.
like a bubbly personality, just want to have fun and goof off. Um, but then again, just honing in on those toolbox, like all my tools in my toolbox.
Mm,
Um, I like visualization, but I'm not like, I learned this from Matt Credich. Like I don't have to visualize the whole race,
mm,
my whole race, right? Like I can just visualize bits and pieces and just like visualize a good start, a good turn, and a good finish.
mm,
And just kind of like see myself doing all those three things, and have done really well with that. Like I've had a lot of success. So
mm.
I think just towards the end, trying to enjoy the moment, enjoy the process a little bit more is when I did my best racing. So
That's awesome. Did,
yeah.
did you, so would you visualize like right before your races, or is that something you just did, I guess, like throughout the week, or was it just like shortly before your event or the meet?
Just like as I'm like sitting in the ready room or behind the
Mm,
blocks, like sitting at the ready room at ISL, like the
mm,
nerves are hitting in, my heart rate's increasing, I'm getting nervous, right? Um, Focusing in onto my breathing was a really big component, just like
mhm,
relaxing my heart rate and visualizing those three pieces like right before.
mm,
Um, and even sometimes doing like meditation during the day, like 5 minutes of just like breath work
mm.
before. I feel like just trying to be as relaxed, but also have that adrenaline at the right time, right?
Right.
And you're always going to get nervous, you're always going to have fears and doubts, but again, like I said before, like having all the tools in my toolbox and figuring out when to use them at the right time.
Hmm. I mean, I know one thing Mike Tyson talks about. I know obviously fighting's a little bit different than swimming, but it's still something like you get nervous for both. Obviously, you're competing in both, and like may the best man win. And so, what happened? Or one thing that he would always say is, if you walk into like a fight and you're not nervous, then most likely the person who's not nervous is going to lose, because those butterflies actually help you, like the adrenaline, all that stuff. Like you need that to perform the best that you can.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just shows that you care, right?
Hmm. Right.
And if that's not happening, then you got to check something, right?
Hmm.
Like maybe you shouldn't be doing it, or I don't know, just kind of figure out your goals and your values and get back in alignment. So
Right.
yeah, that was the biggest thing. It was just like, oh, I'm getting so nervous. Like this is a bad thing, like I
Hmm.
shouldn't be it that way. But again, it just shows that you care.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to do well and you want to succeed.
Hmm. Did you have a swimmer that you looked up to in the sport, or even if it was someone outside of swimming that really inspired you?
Yeah, I think growing up, like Natalie Coughlin,
Hmm.
she was a really good backstroker, female backstroker, and she had a lot of success too. I think she was one of the first women to like go under a minute too,
Oh, wow.
I think, in the 100 back. Um, but I could be wrong too.
Hmm.
I'm not very good with my swimming math.
No, you're good.
So bad. But yeah, Natalie Coughlin, like I think she was a fierce competitor, like she
Hmm.
wanted to win, she wanted to do well, and then she also swam the same stroke as me. So
Hmm.
I always looked up to her.
Did you, or did you ever get a racer or no?
I think she was at ISL the first one.
Hmm.
So we probably raced then. And then I can't remember if she went to when her last trials was.
Hmm.
So I definitely know that I raced her in at least the first ISL season. And then
Hmm.
like you make friends. So I have a really good friend, Madison Kennedy. I'll name drop her, but she's really
Hmm.
good friends with Natalie Coughlin. So just
Oh,
like
wow.
being connected, you just get connected really easily with all the different swimmers at each of the meets that you go to. So it's kind of fun
Hmm.
that like competitors become friends too.
Yeah. Yeah, I always thought, I've never had the opportunity yet, but I would love to get the chance one day to race against like some of my swimming heroes or idols, I guess. Actually,
Yeah.
technically, I guess I have had one that I kind of raced against, but it was more just because he was practicing with Dave, Vladimir Morozov.
Yep.
Like at the time, I didn't like, I knew who he was just from he was like a pretty decent, like decently big name in swimming, but I didn't like look into him or like study him like I did Caleb or Nathan Adrian. But when I finally met him with Dave and everything, and like I was training with him, and I was like, man, like this is actually like really crazy. I get to see this like insanely fast dude. His technique, I get to see him go full speed and get actually like try to race and beat him in the lane next to him and stuff. I never did, but it was still really fun.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And I'm sure one day you will
Hmm.
be able to train or race with some of your biggest fans.
But I learned a lot though from him though. He actually is like a really nice guy, and he helped me a lot with my swimming, like my stroke technique and stuff.
That's great.
Hmm. What do you feel like are, I guess, some of the smaller things that I guess some small things that most people don't do that you feel like really separated yourself by doing, which helped you like in the pool, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, like the small things outside of the pool
Yeah, like
or
or just like
anything in
the
general.
small things that you did consistently that you feel like a lot of people didn't do that really helped you in the pool or and like helped separate you from everyone else.
I think just working on my mindset, like all
Hmm.
of the things that I've mentioned previously, like having like deciding to work with a confidence coach and get out of my comfort zone to
Hmm.
kind of do the mental side or the mental work of my beliefs and confidence. Um, and that's become very popular now too. Like there's a lot of athletes that are doing the same work
Hmm.
or if not similar work that I've done. Um, you've got to do the work outside of the pool to recover as well. And again, I'm not saying that I was the best at doing it, but as a post-grad professional, started to take better care of my body, foam rolling or stretching every day, doing an activation before you warm up or before you swim, getting your body prepared to swim, or doing some relaxation, breathing, breath work technique, to kind of relax yourself before you get in the water, to not feel too stressed. What else? Just honing into technique too. And I get so obsessed with like feel in the water and technique. You can ask any of my coaches. I'm so worried about it. But like I know when something is not right or when something is off. But that also can be like I get too fixated sometimes. But I think just again, like everything has a space and a time to do it, right? But doing the recovery, getting the massages, doing the cold tubs, working on your mental game, and also finding time to have fun outside of the pool, like finding things that you enjoy, like reading, baking. This is what I like to do. Spending time with friends, or like going out to eat, or spending time with family, like being kind of more well-rounded as an athlete, like swimming is a big part, or is a big part of my life. But I'm not just athlete Allie, I am also family oriented. I like to spend time with friends, just finding hobbies outside of the pool, because when you're doing well or when you're not doing well, it can, like we've talked about, it can really affect you mentally. So you're more than your sport, I guess is what I'm kind of trying to say too. So I think as I got older and the longer I've been swimming, I think I took myself a little bit too seriously sometimes. But that's something that I've learned, is just enjoy the moment, enjoy the process, and find things that you love to do outside of your sport.
I can definitely say for myself, I have taken myself too seriously a lot of times in swimming, for sure. Like over stupid things, like I don't know. There is when I was in California training, one thing that I was known for in my swimming is I was always the first one at practice every day and always the first one in the pool, no matter what. And no one was going to beat me inside the pool, like jumping in the water first or like showing up to practice. Like I was always that guy. And so one day there's this guy, we're actually like pretty good friends now. His name's Eric. And he was like, Andrew, I'm gonna beat you in the pool today. And we would literally like form, just like sprint and like take off like all our clothes, like get our Speedo on and everything, and just like dive in. And I was like, I'm not letting someone beat me in the pool. But I was like, why does it even matter that much? Like, why am I taking myself so seriously where no one can even get me in the pool? But I guess part of it for me was I knew a lot of the people I was training with were a lot faster than me. And for me, that was like my mental edges. If I can't beat them in actual swimming, I'm going to beat them in something and at least have something on them before they get in the water. Like I'm going to beat them in the water. I'm going to beat them to practice. I'm going to be up before them. Like I'm going to stack up my wins. By the time they're waking up, I'll have like 5 or 6 wins for the day before I even jump in the water.
Yeah, and I love that too. Like you are finding ways to create success for yourself in those little wins. So you're like, what are these guys doing and what can I do better to swim faster, or like you said, win a championship as a team and for yourself, right? Like there's little things that you can be doing every day.
Yeah, definitely. What advice would you have for people like either who are just getting into swimming or maybe like they've been swimming for a while, or just like anything that you want to leave people with?
That's a good one. There's so many things.
Yeah, there's a lot, I'm sure.
I think just even all the things that we've been talking about, don't take yourself too seriously. It feels like in the moment it's forever and it's like your only thing that you're focusing in on, which isn't a bad thing, but just to have fun and enjoy the process. Like, don't beat yourself up too much about it.
Hmm.
Yeah, and enjoy the moment a little bit more. Like, don't take yourself too seriously.
Right. Love it. So I don't know if Gabby warned you about this, but at the end of every podcast, I have some speed questions that I ask.
Oh gosh, no, she did not. But let's see if I can answer them.
Okay, it's not as hard as you think. It's just kind of like the question I just asked you. It's like, oh man, there's so many. I don't even know where to start. So, first question is, what is the best piece of advice you've got that's impacted you the most?
I think don't be afraid to like be yourself.
Hmm. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And then, what is your favorite quote and why?
There's so many. I always normally look at quotes, but I feel like I haven't um thought of one. I guess on the top of my head is she believed she could, so she did.
Oh, that's cool. Who's that one by? Do you know?
I don't remember.
Okay, no worries.
I guess I could look it up right now.
No, I mean it's all good. If you want to, you can. But no, that's a good one. It was if she believes she could, she can. Is that I say
Yeah,
that
yeah,
right? Okay,
yeah.
that's cool. And then, what book do you recommend that everyone should read?
Um, I'm trying to think. I've I am Hi Jenny. Dog's coming back in.
No worries.
Um, The Alchemist is a really good book.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm trying to think. I started reading Atomic Habits too.
Hmm.
And that's all about like your daily routine, your daily habits that you're creating. But I haven't read enough of it. But The Alchemist is
Hmm.
really good. And yeah, I guess that's it right now.
No worries. I've read Atomic Habits. That's a really good book. You should definitely finish reading that. It's good.
There's probably more books that I could send to you later too. That I'd be like, why didn't I say this?
No worries. And then, do you have any shout outs or call outs?
Just thanking you for taking the time to chat with me and ask
Oh
me
yeah,
questions, and thankful for all of my coaches and the things that I've learned, and for my family, thankful for my family and friends who have supported me throughout the
amazing.
years.
Love it. And then, where can people find you if they want to connect or keep up with your journey and stuff like that?
On Instagram, I think my handle is just Deloof. Instagram. I don't do too much Twitter that much. Instagram is the big one.
All right. And I'll put that in the description so people can find you pretty easy and they can click
Thank
on your
you.
name. And yeah, thanks again for hopping on the podcast, Sally. It was a lot of fun and it was awesome meeting you.
Thank you for having me, Andrew. Awesome to meet you too.